This video is for information purposes only and does not form a professional relationship. The information included in it is not intended to malign, injure, defame, or libel any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual. The information in this video is provided as is with no warranties and confers no rights. The channel is not liable for any legal perspectives, errors, or omissions in this information, nor for the availability of this information.
You are watching Crazy Dude channel. Whenever we are traveling, the only thing on our mind is to have a pleasant and safe journey. However, passengers aboard Singapore Airlines flight SQ516 on the 8th of June had an extremely unpleasant and a traumatic experience. This flight to Kolkata landed at its destination hours past its scheduled time, and the reason for which was non-functional air conditioning systems. With almost 400 passengers on board and no ventilation, the passengers were made to suffer for 3 hours till the time the engineers came and repaired the ACs. To add to the grief, it is being alleged that the crew members were rude and unhelpful. One of the passengers, Chandni Termini, who was traveling with her 2 elderly parents, recounted the experience on her Facebook post.
On the 8th of June, I was flying back via Singapore Airlines SQ516 to Calcutta with my parents, both senior citizens, and younger sister from Brisbane. We had a layover in Singapore, and after 6 hours of being in transit, we were ready to board our flight that was scheduled to take off at 9:10 p.m. Singapore time. We were put on a bus that would take us to our aircraft, with very few seats available and all taken. The majority of us were standing. The driver started the bus, moved it by half an inch, and then got off the bus. He repeated this 4 times. Every time we thought we were going to leave, he got off. It was about 30 minutes we had been trapped inside with no explanation, no reasons. My 73-year-old father and many other senior citizens and toddlers were extremely uncomfortable and physically exhausted just standing there in oblivion. Some of us frantically knocked on the door and windows, and the driver of the bus shrugged from the outside as if to say, "I have no idea what's going on, don't yell at me." Until one lady from the ground staff, who was earlier anxiously ushering everyone onto the bus as if we were school children or an uneducated lot, came to the bus to ask us to calm down. Some of us, including me, lost our cool at her and yelled at her until she let us off the bus and wait at the terminal. 20 minutes later we were asked to board the aircraft. It was now 9:30 p.m. Upon boarding, we were told that the air conditioning in the aircraft was not working and it would be fixed within 15 minutes. Every 5 minutes the captain kept giving us live updates on the PA system. "The engineer is on his way, the engineer is here and it will be fixed soon, please bear with us, the temperature will increase for 10 minutes before it starts cooling." Everyone waited patiently until we realized this was not going to get fixed anytime soon. Half an hour had passed with zero ventilation in an aircraft full of passengers. An air hostess at some point told me the aircraft has not been in use for a long time and so the air conditioning was not working.
Number is there. We are having, first of all, when we boarded the flight, we went to 19 number. When there we were told to run to 6. We came running, we cover already. Then there we got the information that flight is half an hour late. They could have told us, they told within 10 minutes we have to board the flight. Please come running, you got the camera also. Perfect. Is my brother.
There might be technical problems. It's not a big deal. Okay. Might be the engineer, he has rectified, he has gone down again, the problem may happen. The main problem is that when the crew member came to me, the hostess, I asked her to serve me some cold water or cold Sprite. She told me that it was on board. I told her, why man? So our freezer is not working. I said, then by what time you will get the cold drink? So I don't have any answer for it. You get one minute. Then I said, man, you have to give me only. Why are you trying then? You go to the next flight. Who is actually coming in this flight? Who is she talking to? Who is she talking to?
This is the way to...
This is the way. There might be a problem.
Like this.
They are so hot over here.
I am saying second person. I'm saying come
when we are talking to you in a proper manner,
if you
why are you
feel,
talking
then
to me
say
this way?
me. Then he's saying me that no.
Why you are going to
can't
this
stand
flight?
here.
You go in the next
You go inside.
Why? Who has asked you to come in?
I told him that the number told me to stand one and talk one by one. Then he told me no.
Talk to you in a
You can't stand there. Then I said, what can I do, sir? If you want to arrest me, arrest me. He is telling me to stand there. I'm standing there. Just a minute, sir. Come, sir. My mother, I'll show you, 65 years old. A small daughter. His wife is vomiting there.
Let me finish. From the
proposed first stage of tapestry. Here's an update on the engineering situation. They have completed the rectification works and they're in the process of closing up now. And we're also in the process of getting our air traffic clearance, and we should be departing very, very shortly from the parkway.
Sir, this is the update. He's getting 2.5 hours. No, you see.
when we voted extend.
Just a minute.
Let me finish first.
Feel the sweating, sir.
You start from the starting. I have checked in. They told me A19 on the boarding pass. When I was going A10, I have Singapore staff. They told us rush to A19.
Within 10 minutes,
I went A19. They told, oh, you're flying SQ516 Kolkata. Oh, run, your flight is within 10 minutes. You run. With a 65-year-old lady.
You can go to
and 4 kids. They came running from there. And they know the flight number, departing to Kolkata, but they don't know the flight is there. It's a very good thing. When I came to the counter over there, when they asked me, sir, who told you A19? A19 was never announced. Then they told, you, show me your boarding card. So very angry. Show me your boarding card. Who told you? A19 was never loaded. Just keep quiet. Boarding card. A7 was announced. When the scene was very early. Was a wine shop was over there. There was no announcement, nothing was there. And okay, sir, we are extremely sorry.
Sir, we are not here to create a problem, but you face 2.5 hours. You see,
we are
this situation
like this.
You come here.
There is no
I am going 70%.
no
come.
drinks to drink.
You
are
come
crew members
inside.
telling you
Your
go
bathroom
outside.
is
Why you are going?
See,
You see the condition of flight,
two
right?
scubbers are floating over there.
Bathroom
If
is
you see
dirty.
any lie, you
You see the
can
condition of the flight.
just verify
Is
it.
the new flight which has come to take us?
You can just verify it.
If you know the
we are
condition of the
saying-
flight, our
we
single
say-
thing was that you tell us the flight will be delayed for 1 hour, 2 hours. We are sitting
I told you to know. Okay, fine.
खाली धमकाने वाला बात करना है। क्या आप जो बोले
A pregnant lady had gotten so sick she was getting hot flashes and no amount of water splashing helped. 2 other women were profusely throwing up in the back of the plane. Everyone was sweating. It was 31 degrees in Singapore and very humid. When we confronted the cabin crew, they had no answers, rudely shut us up, threatened to call the cops to arrest us, and said we are in the same situation as you are, don't ask us. We don't know anything. If we won't ask them, then who are we supposed to ask? They were not letting us board the plane, and they weren't being able to immediately fix the air conditioning problem, and they weren't able to give us any answers. Passengers were using the safety card to fan themselves. 2 doctors, a senior citizen couple who had to board the aircraft from another wing in wheelchairs from my apartment building in Calcutta, were on the same plane. When I went to them asking for help for people throwing up, I saw that the gentleman had gotten so sick he had to take off all his clothes and sit in a mere vest. Like us, they were traveling from Australia, where it's anywhere between 6 and 9 degrees right now. The airline didn't let anybody go. We were being treated like prisoners, being asked to sit in our seats and wear our seatbelts. They told us if we were going to offload ourselves, then we wouldn't be allowed back in, and they would put us on another plane, which was 2 days later, and they wouldn't compensate us for any of it. The airline did nothing to make us comfortable. They refused us cold water and drinks until much later, when we gathered around the pantry demanding for fizz drinks to feel better. My dad, who has a major dehydration problem, felt suffocated and claustrophobic. The pilot kept announcing that we are about to fly soon, but nothing happened. 3 times the ground police came to our aircraft to understand the problem and did nothing about it, despite people crying for help. It seemed like they were just called in to distract us. Later, when the pilot announced they were ready to go, the air conditioning had still not started. Everyone was nervous. When I raised the concern with a ground security police officer, he told me that I shouldn't be on this plane and that I should immediately get off. People were concerned that what was a minor problem took 3 hours to fix, and very few had confidence we would land safely. In a situation like this, we expected the cabin crew to help us understand the problem and reassure us that it was fixed and safe to fly.
इंस्टाग्राम सब में डाल दीजिए
As someone generally very afraid and anxious of flying, I raised the safety concern with a male cabin crew. And a lady cabin staff, also the head, overheard as he was explaining to me what had happened, and nastily asked him to ignore everything I was asking or saying. When I told her how can you ask your staff to ignore a passenger, her response was that she didn't have time for this. Our plane took off at around midnight 12:30 am Singapore time. We were supposed to reach Calcutta at 10:30 pm Calcutta time and we landed at 2 am. We were on that plan for 3 hours with zero ventilation in super humid weather, with no way to get out, with a bunch of extremely rude cabin crew. And absolutely nobody helping to make the situation better. This was a traumatic experience not only for me and my senior citizen parents but for everyone on that plane. I strongly believe that this outright racist and dehumanizing behavior was meted out to us because we are Indians and the superiority complex was beyond evident. Singapore Airlines took no responsibility and the captain issued a basic verbal apology over the PA system. To some passengers they handed out universal adapters. As a token of I'm not sure what. We take premium airlines because we have faith in their services and that our journey will be nothing less than comfortable. Singapore Airlines went out of its way to make the experience horrifying for us. They should not have let us board the plane in the first place if they knew there was a problem, which they evidently did when our bus was delayed and we were thrown back into the terminal. I wonder if they would have behaved the same way with passengers in an aircraft flying to New York or London. Well, you know the answer. A passenger on the aircraft mentioned that if they delay boarding of passengers, the airline is charged a heavy penalty and that is why we were forced into the sauna of a plane. Is this true? To people reading this and those with knowledge about this, I want to know if and how I can take this up legally and whether I can claim a full reimbursement. Appreciate any and all kind of help and support. Please share widely. Thank you.